There are few in public life with his experience and even fewer with his memory. It's always a pleasure to chat with the former President Pranab Mukherjee in conversation with us today as India celebrates the centenary year of Indira Gandhi, the only and the first woman Prime Minister of India. I'm curious to find out what she really was like. What made her transform from Gungi Guriya to the most powerful woman in this country? And most importantly, what would Congress have done differently had she been around today? It's always a pleasure to chat with someone who I fondly call Pranab. Thank you very, very much, sir, for being with us. You had a very long association with Indira Gandhi, and as the country marks the 100th year of her birth, what is the relevance of Indira Gandhi in 2017? What should India be making of its first woman Prime Minister and somebody who was called the only man at one point in time?
Indira Gandhi is a historic person. Her relevance to India is still important. And first I will refer a small event which took place. Somebody organized a survey amongst a large number of persons to have their views on the best Prime Minister of India. And surprisingly, after 33 years of her death, she happened to be the choice of the large number of participants in the survey as the best Prime Minister of India in the last 70 years. Patriotism, courage, strong determination, empathy with the masses, and the tremendous capacity of using every defeat and failure as a stepping stone to convert into a victory and success. These are the hallmarks of Indira Gandhi, and these are relevant irrespective of time, age, and society.
You mentioned that she used every defeat as a stepping stone to success. How did she emerge from the humiliating defeat of 1977 and then she was back to power in 1980? What would she have done differently for the Congress party in 2014 that the Congress has not been able to do?
Surely in 2014 she would have 97 years old,
right,
even
yes.
if she was alive. So it's difficult, and every situation is not exactly the same. There is a difference between 1977 and 2014. But this much I can say, as I knew her. She would have analyzed what are the causes of the defeat of Congress. She would have removed those aberrations, led the party up front, inspired the followers by her courage, conviction, and commitment to the poor. That was the essence and real strength of Indira Gandhi. Strong courage, determination, and conviction to her commitment.
Before I ask you another question on Indira Gandhi, did Congress fail to do exactly that? Analysis of why they were defeated in 2014, and this perhaps marks the difference between what she would have done and what the party perhaps eventually did.
I think it would not be proper for me to analyze the functioning of the Congress party right now. As in 2012 itself, I ceased to be a political person when I assumed the office of the 13th Presidency of the Republic, as it is a political office.
That's right.
So I should not analyze as a party man.
You have worked with 4 members of the Nehru-Gandhi family, beginning from Indira Gandhi to Rajiv, then Sonia, and of course Rahul Gandhi. How would you say they were all different, and what made Indira Gandhi different amongst the 4 people that you worked with?
You know, every individual is different from other. That is human being. It is the trend in the society. Mere common surname does not mean that they will have commonality in their personalities, functioning, way of thinking, attitude towards life. Indira was born when the nation was involved in the freedom struggle. And particularly her family, her grandfather Motilal Nehru,
That's right. And
her father Jawaharlal Nehru, Anand Bhavan, where she was born, itself was the hub of the national activities. Indira Gandhi had the opportunity of having education from her father, who was one of the most learned men in that contemporary period. Therefore, situation in which these three individuals were brought up are totally different.
I will still ask you to tell me what was the difference in working with Indira Gandhi and later on with Sonia Gandhi. Sonia Gandhi, to begin with, was a reluctant politician and then, of course, took on the mantle. Indira Gandhi was perhaps a natural politician, and you had the privilege of working with one as a junior and then, of course, coming up the ranks, and as another as a very seasoned politician. How was the difference between the two?
No, there are some similarities and there are some very wide differences in the functioning. But one point I must tell about Mrs. Sonia Gandhi. In her dealing with the political leaders, she does not give any false hope to anybody. And rarely she speaks, she listens more to have the assessment of the situation from the others. Mrs. Gandhi have the grasp and control over the situations, and she knows much more than the person to whom she is talking.
That's right. Yes.
Therefore, there would be a difference in the approach of the functioning. When I used to talk to Mrs. Gandhi, I was a junior party man. In fact, she was my mentor. She brought me up.
Yes, yes.
I will give you just an example. It is related to an event in the parliament. Then this was my second term in the government. I was full-fledged finance minister. When a question came to in the Lok Sabha, while question answer was going on, somebody asked me whether government has any proposal to demonetize. My reply was monosyllabic, and I said it is emphatic no. Then the question hour was over. Mrs. Gandhi asked me, Indira Gandhi, to come to her chamber. When I went to her, she told me, Pranab, in parliament never be so emphatic. Who knows? Situation may compel you shortly to change your views and take the decision about which you said emphatic no.
That's right.
Always keep room to come out. On the other hand, when Mrs. Sonia Gandhi used to listen to me, always she admired my parliamentary skill and ability. And at one point of time, she told me on one occasion, that's the reason you should be.
You shouldn't be going to the Rashtrapati Bhavan.
You should not go to Rashtrapati Bhavan, you should be in parliament.
History has judged Indira Gandhi in many ways. As a young politician who considered her as your mentor, do you believe emergency was her biggest political blunder?
I have given my views about emergency in the first volume of my memoirs, which is titled Indira Years.
That's right.
Between 1969 to 1980, and I have analyzed it. I would like to sum up in one sentence of my observations there. From the hindsight it appears, if it could have been avoided, perhaps it was better. So far the judgment of history is concerned, surely you cannot take only one aspect of a personality to make the assessment of the whole personality. You are to take various other aspects. When Indira Gandhi died, it is little unusual, but I must say, one comment which was made by Henry Kissinger, that comment was, she was ferociously Indian. It speaks of her Indian patriotism, Indianness.
Her whole Garibi Hatao movement has been written about, talked about. Indira Gandhi perhaps was epitomized what the Congress policy till 2014 was, which is pro-poor, which is entitlement-based policy. Many people believe that policy has been rejected by India. Do you share that view?
No.
Why do you say so?
That policy has not been rejected, but sometimes a good policy, if it is not properly articulated, because winning an electoral battle and formulation a pro-people policies, these two are different issues. Mere electoral rejection does not mean that it has been rejected by the people as such. Winning the electoral battle is a different art. It depends on how the strategy, tactics, propaganda, all these relevant issues are being geared up by the party concerned.
When Indira Gandhi nationalized banks in 1969 and then in a second phase in 1981, there was a rationale to do so. People thought bank nationalization will help equalize the Indian society. Today we are seeing a very different narrative. Today we are seeing where people are saying that government should let go of control of PSU banks. Has bank nationalization in that sense outlived its relevance?
No. The latest example I will give you, take the case of 2008 financial crisis. What happened? What are the reasons? Analysts are making analysis why this worldwide financial crisis took place in 2008 because of the indiscretion of some housing banks
That's right.
in USA. And thereafter it had its cascading effects in the banking world all over the world, particularly in the bigger banks of North America and Europe. But the Indian banking system
Could withstand it.
stood firm, unscathed. And I once jokingly told that thanks to the policy of, in one of the meetings of the G20 finance ministers, that somebody mentioned that Indian banking system is very strong, they have come unscathed. And yes, thanks to the policies of a prime minister who considered it necessary to nationalize 14 scheduled commercial banks in July 1969. Today, Indian banking system is on a firm footing. And as finance minister, I am not to take any scheme to salvage the seeking bank. Banks recapitalization is the normal economic activity.
That's right.
So that's a different thing.
So, when you began describing Indira Gandhi as your mentor, you used a word twice, which is determination and strength. You said she was very strong, she was very determined. A lot of people draw that parallel between Indira Gandhi and the present Prime Minister, Mr. Narendra Modi. Do you believe that's a valid parallel to draw between the two?
I don't think so, because as I told that every individual is different from the other. But yes, there are some common features. I think after Indira Gandhi, Mr. Narendra Modi is the Prime Minister who is so hard working.
That's true.
This point, I don't think there is any disagreement. The way Mr. Modi campaigned in 2014, it reminded me, I was in Rashtrapati Bhavan.
That's right. Yes.
That perhaps it is Mrs. Indira Gandhi could take this hard campaigning as he did in 1980, single-handedly, from snow-capped mountains to Indian Ocean.
That's right.
From forests of Mizoram to the Arabian coast,
Yes.
Gujarat, all parts of India.
People
She
almost call
campaigned
her
so
yeah.
vigorously.
Rising from the ashes is what people were calling her then. I will ask you a question. You said, she would have analyzed, and that's what she did after 1977 perhaps. You have previously, in some of your other previous interviews, said that don't write off the Congress. The Congress can adapt, adjust, learn and come back. Are you still of the view?
Of course.
What
I
gives you the
do
optimism?
always believe that a political party, if it has commitment to its ideology, and ideology for the welfare of the people, pro-people, not anti-people, and if it has a dedicated band of workers, it can never be raised off. Electoral battle, failure and success are inevitable in the parliamentary form of government. In India, we have seen it ourselves. In 1984, a political party is getting just 2 Lok Sabha seats in 1984.
That's right, yes.
In 19 98, within 14 years, that political party is forming the government.
Yes.
With 181 seats in Lok Sabha, of course a coalition government, but leading the government. Therefore, these type of electoral reverses take place more than often in parliamentary democracy. Rate of mortality in parliamentary democracy is always very high.
You have said, and you have written in your book, The Coalition Years, that the Congress did not warm up to coalition politics to begin with. You warmed up to the idea only in 2004 and it worked well for you. But the difference, perhaps a lot of people say then and now, is that the Congress was the catalyst of coalition then. Congress was the fulcrum of coalition. Can Congress be the fulcrum of coalitions now? Because most coalitions that now get talked about are the anti-BJP bloc really. Can Congress catalyze them together today?
Coalition becomes inevitable when the electoral mandate is fractured.
That's right.
Therefore,
yes.
coalition becomes inevitable. And if it becomes inevitable, it must be with the like-minded parties. And here, you just notice, very recently, Sitaram Yechury used a phrase about Sonia Gandhi that she is a glue, not only to keep the Congress men and women together, but perhaps the other non-BJP parties come together and stay together. So, it is possible to have the coalition. Secondly, you shall have to keep in mind that what is the nature of the political parties. Most of them are confined to only one state.
That's right, very regional.
Therefore, to provide the leadership, always you require a national party, which has presence all over the country. It is, as I said, that there are sometimes exceptions may take place, aberrations may take place to the extent which has taken place in regard to the strength of Congress party in Lok Sabha, just 44. But it is not natural, it is aberration, and aberration cannot last long.
I think the party should be drawing their optimism from somebody who's been a career congressman. But I'll ask you one quick question on Rahul Gandhi before I move forward. He's trying to galvanize the forces. He's got some traction now in Gujarat. As someone who's seen him evolve, as someone who's seen him work, as someone who's, I'm given to understand, also counseled Mrs. Gandhi on Rahul Gandhi's politics. Do you sometimes feel sorry for the ridicule that comes his way, or do you believe some of that is deserved?
You know, these are the way of expressions and one need not comment in it, but this far I can tell about Rahul that he is working very hard. And one of the qualification of a top leader to have the capacity to reach the people, to communicate with them, and as fast and as deep a leader can do that, to that extent he is successful. And Rahul is just doing that. He is trying to reach the people, he is reaching the people and establishing a rapport between him, a communication between him and the mass at large.
When will there be elevation? He's the vice president, he's running the party affairs.
You know, of course, the word passing on the baton has been used in Congress from 1930.
That's true.
Therefore, in Congress party, it has been to suggest somebody from Nehru Gandhi family to take the leadership. But that is the internal process of the Congress party. Acceptability of the leader depends on the people, not few hundred or few thousands or few lakhs congressmen and women. Indian electorate is vast.
Is Rahul Gandhi ready to be accepted as the leader?
Let us see.
I cannot not ask you two questions because I've tracked you as finance minister. So I'll ask you two financial questions before I let you go. GST was a reform that you championed for a long time after you, Mr. Chidambaram, championed it. To be fair, this government has been able to roll out that reform with a lot of disruption. Were you anticipating this level of disruption for the GST?
So far the level of disruption is concerned, it depends on the what form you are presenting it.
That's right.
Because it is a major economic reforms in the taxations. because Constitution had to amend it. And I was the first to introduce the constitutional amendment in 2011.
Yes.
But I could not get it approved by both the houses of parliament because we did not have the numbers. I did work very hard to roll out the GST. It was originally proposed by Finance Minister P. Chidambaram in his budget speech of 2005.
That's right.
And thereafter he asked the empowered group of ministers, which was set up earlier, to have the smooth transition of VAT all over India. So that group of ministers was used by Mr. Chidambaram also for GST. I also used them. But substantial work was done during the period between 2009 to 2012 when I was the finance minister.
That's right,
and
yes.
I have explained in details in all my budget speech, including the progress. So the discussion paper of the state finance ministers, constitutional amendment introduction, about the rates, items, all these things were discussed. But naturally, I could not complete it, so it was picked up by the government in 2014 onwards, and they have rolled out. Only one point I would like to mention, that when you make such a massive change, there will be teething problems. And the prudency of the new policy is, or any such policy after major changes, should be to adjust it quickly as and when the teething problem arises. You cannot foresee and anticipate all the teething problems.
That's right.
So as and when it develops, it comes, you have to adjust, and in your policy that amount of flexibility should be left.
Do you believe this GST as compared to what you and your government then was envisaging is very complex, multi-layered, complex, and has the central government made too much compromise with states, you believe?
Compromise I would not use, but there should be a consensus because it is affecting both the central and the states. Remember, both the governments are giving up their sovereign right of taxations, which was enshrined in the Constitution. Central government is giving up its sole right of taxation on which is known as central excise.
That's right. Yes.
And which constituted to be the largest chunk of central revenue coming from the taxations till recently. Customs duty and central excise, these were the two biggest chunks.
That's right. Yes.
So central government is giving up its sovereignty on that. State government is giving up its sovereignty on sales tax and host of other state tax.
Right, yes.
Therefore, both are sacrificing. So there should be compromise between the both. And there it will have to be done on the basis of give and take, and it has been done. But I should not sit on the value of judgment till it unfolds and finally it takes place. At what point of time, under what circumstances? You have noticed that 178 items taxation have been reduced.
Yes. Yes.
Fact remains it has been reduced. As a tax reformer, I will take into account that fact.
That's right.
Under what circumstances, how, these are not very materials. So, as and when you go on implementing it and you notice the problems, teething problems arising out of it, so you will have the adequate flexibility to adjust it.
As a former finance minister who weathered India through the financial crisis, I think those are words of wisdom. Our last question to you, sir. As a former finance minister, you disagreed emphatically, you said, with demonetization on the floor of the House, corrected by your leader. As president, you supported your government in the decision they took. As citizen Mukherjee, how do you assess demonetization that India went through?
I think I have stated that, and I am sticking to that view, that initially it would affect the GDP growth. But in course of time, it will adjust and it will provide the momentum to the growing economy in course of time.
If you were finance minister in November 2016, would you have done demonetization?
It was absolutely hypothetical question.
Has it served a purpose is what many people wonder.
You know, one instrument is not adequate to address all the problems. Our habit, or sometimes you can say that it is our Oriental belief that one set of instruments can serve all purpose, multi-purposes. It is not possible. So, the limited objective of immobilizing the unaccounted resources in the form of currency notes, that immobilization has taken place.
That's right. Yes.
That is the objective. But if you expect it will provide great momentum to the GDP, it will completely stop
Black money.
black money, generation of black money and hoarding black money. It will completely stop terror finances. To expect all the major remedies through one set of instrument is not possible.
Thank you very much, sir, for this conversation.
Thank you very much, and
Thanks
thanks
a lot,
to your viewers to have patience being with us.
I think it's always a pleasure listening to you. Thank you so much.